G'day folks. For this afternoon's little equipment autopsy we have another flight recorder. It's also a digital flight data recorder, just like the Fairchild F800 that you've seen earlier. This is a Sundstrand UFDR. I believe it's the same as the one that Mike's Electric Stuff tore down. I wanted one for my collection. This one came up really cheap, so I picked him up. They do have a slightly different front port interface, but the ARINC spec is the same. This one actually has the underwater beacon, which expired in 2014, so it's been in use recently, or at least expired recently, so it's probably in use like 2012, 2013, I don't know. But it's an old tape style one, largely obsolete now, apart from much smaller, cheaper airlines. I've got the manual for the F800, which may come in handy for this one here, given the pinouts should be the same. Yeah, there is a diagram in the back here somewhere with all of the, well, basically the pins and what they are and what they do. So, but this thing is like the holy grail of flight recorder information. Mainly pertinent to the F800, but still. Yeah, there's the basically what it does. There's a block diagram. Can't get much more simple than that. You got power, you got status, you got status, you got ARINC spec data going in and out, and then yeah, pretty straightforward. They're different models. That one's 1700 M800. I think that might be that one. Actually, no, it won't be. There are different models. That's more like the one that I've got. Anyway, I'll go into that one later. This might be a fairly long video. I've also got the proper actual FAA ARINC 542 and 542A PDF documents and things, but that's all still pretty current stuff. That's not published in here. That's published in a separate document, which I'm going to keep confidential for the time being. I don't believe you're supposed to. I think it's more a purchasing side of things. I've been told I'm allowed to have it, but you're really supposed to pay for it. But somebody in the avionics industry sent it to me. Not naming names or anything, but somebody was nice enough to gift me a copy of the ARINC spec, and it's quite interesting to read. That's all I have to say. I'm not distributing it. I'm not going to show it in the video, but it's pertinent to how you talk to these ports. This one here doesn't have the duplicate that this one does, but they'll still lock into the same cradle. They still have the same keys in the same orientation. These keys can actually be rotated to lock out and prevent you from inserting the wrong one, from what I understand. That's only from what I've been told. But yeah, they're little keyways. So these are interchangeable. They talk the same talk, they walk the same walk. Anyway, one day we'll set up, get these running, even do a ROM dump on them. I've got the ground power unit over there, that grey one next to the amplifier. That's a 400 Hertz ground power power supply. Yeah, so that's going to be one day when I've got more bench space and get some projects out of here. So let's crack this baby open and have a look. Okay, so inside, fairly similar to the F800. You've got the crash shell with the tape recorder inside it. In this case the power supply is actually in the middle, whereas before it was in the rear, although there it looks like there's a transformer there. Got power supply block. This whole block comes out together, and you've got your logic boards, which will be CPU. One of these will be read-write. I have had a couple of these out when I received it, and I've got a fair idea of what they are. That is part of power regulation. That's main power supply. Then you've got CPU, you've got read-write, and you've got analog to digital conversion, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have markings on it which tells you what's what. The F800 has them all over it. It's pretty easy to work out what card does what, so we'll sort of have to wing it on this one. A few revision numbers and things in there, but nothing serious. On the back, well, I'll have to get that off, and it's all point-to-point wiring by the looks of it. I have had the crash shell unbolted, but it wasn't going to come apart because it's still got this connector on the back here. These are all still screwed in. This one has the tape motor mounted outboard. It's just mounted down there. Little belt going through a slot in the crash housing. Evidently probably not quite as solid as the other ones, although the F800 also has the tape motor outside of the crash housing. But yeah, I've already had some of this partly dismantled. Yes, there's some of the power transistors. 12 volt regs, 5 volt regs. Everything's completely covered in conformal coating as well. Very well protected. I don't believe the F800 has that. Okay, let's see what I can get out of this thing. This guy here. A lot of bodge wires. Didn't really say what they are. That's the problem. Again, it's got some fairly heavily heat-sunk components. It does look like power regulation. Relay. The 115 volt 200 hertz down to 26 volt. These are little solid transformers. Good thing about high frequency is this transformer would normally be like that big if it was 50 hertz. So high frequency, smaller transformers, less magnetic mass. It works. And of course, lightweight. That's why aviation uses high frequency AC. So this is power supply, one of them. The main one seems to be there though, there's more. So what are you? Tested assembly number. Not saying, but it's got those familiar transistors that the Fairchild had. This might be a head channel card, right amplifier perhaps. Got that nice little gold cap AMD chip there. That's cool. A lot of these Harris ones, Texas Instruments. I can't remember what you are. Maybe National. Yeah, I think that's National Semiconductor, Harris, Texas Instruments, AMD. Pretty cool. These nice little colour-coded shielded test points. And everything's covered in conformal goo. Well, it's not even goo, it's like hard epoxy enamel. Clear coat. You're going on top of that. I want to get these back in the right way. UB. Intel AMD 9080. Oh, it's an 8080 MD 8080 CPU, 8-bit, 8 megahertz, 1977 copyright. Yeah. So this will be the CPU board. Although there seems to be two of them. It's got an 8080 on it, but it could be part of the. One of them will be ADC, one will be CPU. Yeah, no, this will be CPU because that's the ROM there. This one here is probably a converter. Still got an AMD 8080 on it. Although that looks important. Shame it's not socketed, otherwise we could try and do a dump on it if that's a prom. That will be the CPU board. Yeah, MD 8080 again. That little ROM chip there, which has all the important stuff in it. That's what we want to do a dump of. Not sure what you are. Again, numerous chip manufacturers: Motorola, Texas Instruments, National. Let's say what they are. Or you not say what you are. Anyway, nice backplane. Everything's heavily potted, like even the bases, the connectors are stuck down with epoxy before they solder them in. They are in there permanently. It's just nicely made. Get this little power supply rack out. It's got various filter caps and the main voltage regs on it. Yeah, after having a quick look around online and even having a quick look at Mike's video again, I think we both know about as much about these things as each other. That's quite possibly a CPU card, but again, this one has one as well. That's still a PROM. That's still an EEPROM. There's really probably two control cards, various analog digital conversion, probably an interpreter or something for the signals coming off the synchro resolvers, power supply, and this is probably a read-write amp, hence the amplifier transistors or whatever's on there. A lot of military spec logic chips. That's about it really. I mean, there's not a lot of info around, at least until I find a technical manual that says what each is. But of course Julian will end up with this for a while and he can have a poke around because he knows a lot more about these than I do. Chips, that is, chips and boards. We both don't know a lot about flight recorders, but it's not hard to figure out what they do when you've got someone who knows their circuitry and ICs, and deciphering the difference between this one and this one will be quite important because they both have Intel 8080s on them. This one has a 4K PROM on it, this one has possibly this one has some kind of PROM on it. This one has a 4K PROM on it. I think. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's a 4K PROM. Either way, Mike didn't get much off his chip. This one looks like it's been changed and updated a couple of times. This is dated 87. So, no, it's 88, 87, so it probably hasn't been touched at all. I will get Jules to do a dump on that and see if there's anything particularly interesting in it. If not, well, nah. It'll be all secrets for the void, for the archive. Who knows? Anyway, let's pull this power supply unit out and then disconnect the crash case and or crash shell, or whatever you want to call it, and we'll get into there. Okay, let's get the power supply module out. Oh, what are you? Oh, that'd be a transformer. Yep, that'll be a little toroidal transformer. Oh, he's pinging me now. A lot of big ass capacitors in there. That 1000 microfarad 50 volt. Big suckers. Little chips. God, that's well made. The bridge rectifier. Yeah, some chunky stuff. You gotta love avionics. There he is. A tape motor. Look at that. Tape unit connectors. Need any small screwdrivers out. I'll try and get this crash case out completely. How do you do that? Actually, I think I can open it in the unit. Sort of. I'm probably going to have to break this thing completely down to get this case out, but it's worth it. Alright, well I've got the crash shell loose. I'm not pulling it out, I'm just going to undo these. I've got to strip the front of the machine down to get it out. The cover's loose. I'm hoping I can get it out of here. Can, I just need longer fingers. Get out of your hole. Yes, there's a tape in there. Hooray! I don't think Mike's one came with a tape, so he couldn't do much with it, but this one has tape in it. Look at that. Looks like phenolic. It's a hard moulded phenolic liner. I see a tape. Yep, there's a tape in there. Fantastic. That's what I wanted to see. There's a continuous belt running around the outside. Ah, look at that. It is complete. It has complete tape in there. That is a thing of awesome. Old, the belt's not very happy, but it works. There appears to be, yeah, there's a small sub-drive belt going under there, probably to this guy here, yeah. And then it drives these two around and just keeps tension on the tape itself. The tape, no, it doesn't circulate with the belt. This one actually would have to stop and rewind after a while by the looks of it. Doesn't appear to be a continuous loop. Or is it? No. No, it's not a continuous loop. It doesn't go with the belt. It just stops at a certain point and then rewinds. That's pretty cool. '09 2000 by the looks of it. If that's a date code to go by. Probably winding it the wrong way. Mess it up. Who knows? But that's good. We've got a tape. Can I even? I'd like to know what's under there, but then actually I can see the phenolic underneath anyway. There's just going to be a few bearings. That's about it, and the wiring loom coming out. There's not going to be much to see underneath it. So I'm not going to take that out, but that is the actual tape. It's still in here. It doesn't appear to loop around. It only comes straight around, goes reel to reel. This belt just does its thing. It's a strange way of doing it. unless there's another drive underneath that synchronizes the wheels. It just looks like it's more like a pinch roller kind of system. You've got a rubber drive dragging the tape through, but realistically normally there's actually a capstan motor and pinch roller in there instead of an idler tyre. I'm just going off VHS, what I know on working on VHS players. But you can see there's some optical sensors there which may detect the end of tape, then rewind it. That is a stepper motor. It's interesting. It's definitely different to the Fairchild one. The Fairchild one uses a 400 Hz AC motor, like an induction motor, but it's continuous loop 8-track. This one here is reel to reel and evidently has to stop at some point and rewind. That's cool. Okay, well that should sum up the teardown for now, at least until we get the GPU set up on the bench and actually try and power these things on. I'm going to make a new harness connector that I can plug into it, and we'll shove 115 volts at 400 Hz into one of them and see what they do. This one here, I don't know whether or not it was dead. There's nothing obviously burned out. This one obviously had a burned out power supply. I've replaced the tantalum capacitors, wet slug tantalums, with just some decent electrolytics for the time being. Tantalums aren't critical in hobby use. Obviously for aviation you do it part for part, but yeah, this one here, not sure. The only thing I can do is plug it in, see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it smokes and catches fire, well, so be it. Yeah, anyway, I'll get set up later on with the GPU, flight recorders, do a few ROM dumps, things like that when Julian's over. Just see what's going on inside these things and see if we can actually get one to run. I'm not so concerned about getting the data off them now that I know just how hard it is to do it, or if there's even any data left on them, but I just want to run one. Any of them. And yeah, very shortly I should have a cockpit voice recorder, which probably won't be as heavily encoded as a data recorder. This is more like a server tape drive than a microphone voice recorder, like a reel-to-reel player. Hopefully the cockpit voice recorder is just like basically just audio tape. That would be quite interesting if it still has a recording on it. Anyway, thanks for watching.